There we go.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first in the series of It's Your City, the webinars, this 8-series webinar sponsored by Hartford Next and Hartford Next Neighborhood Training Institute. Today, we're going to be talking about and having panelists from the Mayor's Office, the Court of Common Council, the Town Clerk's Office, and the Registrars of Voters. So who are we? Well, Hartford Next, if you're unfamiliar, is the coalition of Hartford's 13 neighborhood revitalization zones, or called NRZs, and the city of Hartford. And we have been in existence since 1997. And our mission is really to work with the citizens and residents of Hartford to work together to have a voice and to help to improve and strengthen and grow our community. The Neighborhood Training Institute has really been established since the beginning of we're going a little bit too, let's see what's happening. Since the beginning of the start of the Hartford 2000, which is the name of the organization when we first started. And the first seminar was NRZ 101, how to become an NRZ. So we're in a tradition of trying to educate and inform the community. We do seminars, workshops, programs with their formal as well as informal. And we've doing programs such as this. In the past, we've done the Building Back Our Community Better panel discussion, which was done in April of 2021. We work on civic engagement and education. And we also have a triennial or 3 times a year NRZ leaders meeting where we work on issues and come up with solutions relative to things that are going on that are challenges or beneficial to the city of Hartford and its residents. So today we're going to be getting the first series, and we're having 8. 4 of the workshops or webinars will be in the fall, and the 4 will also be in the spring. And the goal is to help us all learn more about our city government, how it works, how it impacts our lives, especially those who live and work and recreate in Hartford, and how we can become more involved. And actually, the impetus for this series is really how do we get residents involved in their city and helping to make it better. So today, we are going to have the panel discussion, and I'm going to give you an overview of what we have today in our planning. We will then do the panel discussion, Q&A. We'll have some evaluations or polls during the thing. We'll close, and then we'll be off to other events for Saturday. So what are we looking at? This is the org chart for the city of Hartford. And as you can see, it's complex and has a number of departments that impact us. And we're going to be segmenting this and talking about these in a easier way to digest this. So as we talked about today, we're going to be focusing on the mayor, the Court of Common Council, the Town Clerk's Office, and the Registrar of Voters. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Mary Falvey, who will talk to us about how we can make this an effective webinar session and get the most out of it. Mary?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're so happy to see you all here. We're just here to tell you a couple things about making sure that you can participate in today's session, because that's what it's all about. We are using a webinar format today, so you can't communicate using your device's audio. However, there's 3 ways that you can be interacting with us today. One is in the chat section below. We'll be posting any information and links we think will be helpful for you. You can also use the chat feature to share information with your fellow audience members. And don't worry if you don't capture everything today as you're writing. I know sometimes it's hard to keep up with that. We'll be capturing what gets put in the chat and sending you out a summary of this in a follow-up email sometime early next week. If you have questions, and we hope you do, for today's panelists, we ask that you use the Q&A feature that you see on your screen. We'll be monitoring this section during the program, and we will try to relay as many of your questions as we can to our panelists. We do ask, though, that you please stay on topic. Our purpose here today is to learn how we can best interact and engage with our city officers and departments that have joined us here today. If you have a specific issue you need help with, hopefully you'll have the tools you'll need by the end of the session to reach out to the appropriate department. And even though we're engaging virtually, our Hartford Next ground rules for meetings still apply. So please be respectful to our panelists and each other. Avoid inflammatory statements or accusations. Keep your comments in chat and your questions to the panelists as brief and to the point as you can. And if one of your questions in the Q&A is directed to a specific person on the panel, it would help if you start that question and answer, putting that person's name or title in. But last but not least, please participate. We have a couple polls that we'll be sharing, very brief ones, during the webinar. So thank you all again for joining us. And I'll now turn this back over to Marion.
Well, thank you, Mary. And I'm very remiss because I should have introduced myself. I'm Marion Griffin. I am board chair for Hartford Next. I have been on the board since 2018. And I'm also a member of the Frog Hollow NRZ. And I've been a member of the Frog Hollow NRZ since early 2000. So at this point, I will introduce our moderator. We are so fortunate to have as our moderator, Jeffrey Stewart. Some of you may know him quite well. He is a member of Hartford Next. He's also a member of several NRCs, I think Clay Arsenal, and on the north end of Hartford. And he's retired from service at various levels of government, including federal, state, and municipal. So with that, I will turn it over to Jeff, who is going to take us through the session, introduce our speakers, our presenters, and help us become more informed about how we can engage with the city of Hartford. Jeff, thank you.
All right, thank you for that introduction,
Oops.
Marion.
I'm
As I start,
sorry.
after 2 years of being in the Zoom land, I'll apologize up front if I screw something up Zoom-wise, but hopefully I have handlers now. I guess I call Marion and Mary is my handlers or co-host, so they'll straighten me out. So if you see me like looking to the side because they're telling me to do something properly, that's part of it. So just get ready, enjoy the show. Basically what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the panelists, and then after they go through introduction, then we'll go into our question and answer. We'll go down in order, so we're going to make it lively instead of just asking, instead of asking Eric all the questions first. We're going to rotate. So we'll start from the mayor will be later on, but we'll go down for our council president, Mallory Rosado, and we'll go down to our registrar of voters, I call her Gigi, and then Eric will go last some questions, but we'll rotate it, so it'll be fun and exciting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the panelists, and as I introduced the panelists, we're going to ask to just give a minute, minute to introduction, how who you are, hi, and also give your thoughts and concerns about the theme of this show, which is seminar, which in terms of government, how it works and it impacts the lives of the residents, and for them to get involved. So as I introduce you and you say hello, just if you share your thoughts about the theme of today's panel discussion. I should also mention that one of my co-handlers will be telling me if there's some resident questions coming from our participants. We're going to yield to them first and get those questions done before I ask my mundane questions. So we want to make this participation works good so people want to stay engaged. Assuming that I didn't miss anything in the introduction, because my handlers will tell me I did, we'll start going down to the introduction of the panelists. As I said, oh, I see the mayor's joined us. So I guess when we go through, Mr. Mayor, we're going to introduce, I'm going to introduce the folks, you guys, and you say hello to the people. And we're asking people, the respondents, the panelists, as they say hello to folks, to talk about the theme, their concerns about today's theme, which is letting residents know how the government works and the impact their lives and for them to get involved. So then, having said that, now the mayor's here first. We'll start with Honorable Mayor Luke Bronin, the mayor. He's in his second term now, I believe, and out there running around trying to help us survive COVID. So, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to introduce yourselves to the folks and just give some of your thoughts about the theme of today's panel.
Sure. Good morning. Well, thank you, Jeff, and thanks, Marion, and thanks to the whole team at Hartford Next and to all the NRZs. And it's great to see our various partners in city government here, Council President Rosado and our registrar and clerk's office represented. So looking forward to the conversation. I'll be very brief in the introduction, Jeff, so just we can get to a conversation and questions. But you know, this is, it's been needless to say, a challenging and strange year and a half. And that's affected everything, including the way that we all engage with one another, as well as the way that I think residents engage with city government and vice versa. But you say we've been working hard to respond in every way to the pandemic and to the challenges that it's brought, both direct and indirect. But it also means that, you know, until recently, there hasn't been as much face-to-face engagement. There hasn't been the same discussions at NRZ meetings. Virtual is a little bit harder to replicate. You know, I haven't done town halls in the same way. Our hope is now, even though we're still contending with this pandemic, to shift back to a lot of those more normal forms of engagement, because I think they're really important. So I have a number of town halls coming up in the next few weeks, and our department heads who have already been out there are going to be out there an awful lot more. But I think, you know, one of the most important things that I wanted to stress here is that, you know, our NRZs are still and need to be the nerve center for connectivity between our neighborhoods and city government. You know, they're established to be that voice of each neighborhood. They're meant to represent and reflect and advocate for the concerns of that neighborhood, and meant to provide a forum which those conversations can happen. So I obviously encourage anyone and everyone to reach out directly to my office, directly to departments if you've got issues specifically with our departments, through 311 at any time, which is the best place to lodge concerns or ask questions about city services. But I really encourage you, if you're not already involved in your NRZ, to get involved in your NRZ. And, you know, maybe that most of the folks who are watching a Hartford Next broadcast are already involved in the NRZ, but maybe not. And so if you're not, please do. And if you are, spread the word throughout your neighborhood, because, you know, again, we really value and want to strengthen and reinforce the role that NRZs play in creating that connectivity between my administration, city in general, and our neighborhoods. I'll stop there, Jeff, because I don't want to. I want to make sure to focus on the things you, Marion, and the whole team want me to focus on. But happy to dig in on any particular area. And again, it's great to be with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Next up is we have our council president, Molly Rosado, who's been in that illustrious role since January of 2020. You can read all the wonderful things about her on the website. So I want to, on the screen rather. So I'm going to let her speak and not hold up, because I'm sure she has some nice things to say. So Council President Rosado.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to piggyback on some of the comments that our mayor made. First of all, Marion and Jeff and the entire Next CT team, thank you for providing this platform so that once again we can get together and chat with our residents. It has been a challenging almost 2 years, but we seem to have worked it all out. I remember that when the governor gave down the rule of us going virtually, our mayor was there with us to make sure that city council was up and running virtually. And actually, I can say that we were the first city to pass that emergency resolution so that there would be no interference with communicating with the public. It has been challenging. I became council president in 2020, and 3 months after that, we had the pandemic, and here we are. But I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's very nice to see all our departments heads here so that we can provide the necessary information that our residents need in order to make their lives easier when connecting with city council or the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Rosado. Next up, we have our Assistant Town Clerk, Eric Husa, who's been there for like over 12 years doing awful, wonderful, amazing things he'll tell you about later on in the Town Clerk's office. Eric?
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you to Hartford Next. Thank you to the Mayor, Council President Rosado, and the rest of the panelists. I think today gives us an opportunity, specifically the NRZs and the residents, to reconnect during this tough time with COVID, with the city government, and really, what we can do for you guys, the residents, and how we can streamline maybe city services a little more efficiently. So hopefully today, the residents have an opportunity to see what services we offer and, where we can cut any of the perceived red tape or transparency issues that may be out there. So I look forward to the conversation, and I think that Hartford Next is doing a great job. So thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we're fortunate to have a team in the Registrar of Voters office, the Democrat and the Republican. I'll start with Gigi. I call her Gigi. Her name is actually Giselle Felicianos, who's been involved in many things in Hartford, and we're fortunate to have her as a Registrar of Voters. So Gigi, want to say hello?
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you, everyone, panelists Next, for having us on board for this conversation. Basically, I echo everything that everyone has previously said, but Next, or as I've always called it, Hartford 2000, sorry. I got to get used to the new name because I've been here for too long. Has always been the forefront to initiate many of what has passed with government as far as making sure down from street safety, quality of life, you name it, even down to our government process. So I applaud Next for the continued work that they've done. The pioneers that began this back when it was just CCP, so I'm bringing it way back, really worked hard. So, and I'm happy that I was actually part of it in the very beginning and have seen it grow this far. Like the mayor and everyone else has said, the fact that we have come through these years of, I'm saying years, but year and a half of this pandemic, it was very difficult to put into play one of the biggest elections, one of the most challenging ones last year throughout the pandemic. We pulled through. So I hope we can continue to do this in a partnership form. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. And next we have our Republican Registrar of Voters, Vanessa Garay-Jackson. She was Deputy Registrar before, and she just recently, last election, moved up to be in charge. So welcome. And Vanessa, you have no comments, greetings to the folks. I'm not sure, is Vanessa talking? Is she unmuted?
She's not on mute.
Okay.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
Okay. Vanessa, you may have to unmute yourself. This is the fun part of Zoom.
So maybe we'll just have to come back to her.
Okay. All right. We're not excluding you, Vanessa, just at the moot thing, but it's okay. We're going to go with the flow. So The next thing up, unless my handlers tell me something different, is that there is a overall question I want to ask everybody before we get to specific questions in each department. So there's an overall question in general that we're going to ask folks, and that is, in a minute, could you tell us what messages you have for the residents as to why they should participate in Hartford government in general? And we're going to go down the list, and we'll start with the Honorable Mayor Luke Brolin. If he could respond to that question about a minute or so, then we'll just keep going down the list.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, I talked a little bit about this when talking about the NRZs. Look at it when we're talking about city government, different from state government, way different from federal government. Everything that we do, everything that everybody on this Zoom does, affects your daily life. It affects the community that you live in, the neighborhood, the street that you live in, the services that you get, in every way. And I know that as in any city, there are always going to be enormous frustrations with some aspects of city government, but the best way to change that, the best way to make your voice heard, is to find those avenues that allow your voice to be heard. One of those is your neighborhood revitalization zone. The other thing, which Council President may kick me under the virtual table for saying, is go to your council public hearings. I will say that oftentimes at public hearings, you see the same 5 or 10 people making their voices heard, and they have every right to do that. I don't begrudge that, but it would be nice, I think, sometimes to have more voices from the community coming and making their voices heard in those formal settings, so that our council members and my team and everybody can hear them. So I think there's no question that it's important for us to hear directly from you. We have no choice but to prioritize and to some extent to triage, right? You've got a million challenges coming at you at any one time, on any one day. You've got a million knotty problems that you want to tackle and untangle, and you have to figure out how to prioritize those, how to rank them. And you got to day-to-day figure out what are we going to tackle today, and also where are we going to put our strategic energy and strategic time. And part of our job as representatives in a representative democracy is to make our best judgments about where we should be focusing. But it also is really important for us to hear from you in real time and on a regular basis. So I guess that's my answer to why you should get involved, and also to how you should get involved. I would say, 1, get involved in your NRZ. 2, don't be shy about making your voice heard directly in those public hearing opportunities. 3, vote. We're about to have an election for the Board of Education. I think we will all, I'm predicting, hope to be wrong, but I think we will all be ashamed by the turnout that we see in an election that's enormously important for our community and for our kids. So those are the 3 things that I would strongly encourage everybody to do, and it really does matter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, Council President Rosado.
Yes, I totally echo the mayor's response. And yes, we would like to see more participation in public comment and public hearing. I must say that the new way of doing business with this pandemic is we're doing a lot of meetings, webinars, town halls, which the mayor said, in the next couple of weeks, within the month, he'll be holding some town halls, and we hope to see a lot of participation from the public. But let me tell you, as council president, I have seen how much more of a participation we have had through public comment and public hearing while holding our council meetings virtually. This allows for the single moms who have children at home and don't have a babysitter to bring them into city council, the elderly that perhaps would have to do a dialed 311 to get transportation to a meeting. So it has been very effective. We had, I remember, one public hearing where we had over 70 people, residents participate. So that is very effective. And I'm going to mention it on here, but at the end of this month, the city council will be going with what we call a hybrid mode. You'll have some council members on the dais, in their office, wherever they are. If they're even outside this country, they could log on and still participate in the meetings. And I really look forward to this winter season where we could have that participation that perhaps some of our residents can't get to City Hall, but can participate through the Zoom. I encourage everyone to, like the mayor said, participate in their NRZs. And also our offices are open to the public. We might not be there, but we do have an open door. Our city council phones are answered all the time. There's emails. We have a new system in place right now, our website through city council, that you can, by a click of a button, write to us. So I'm gonna be quiet now and let you, I can keep on going.
No problem. I like when you get riled up. It's good. It's good information you're giving. Next, our assistant clerk, Eric, could you have the comments on the question at hand?
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey. You know, I think for the residents, I mean, above anything else, I mean, the more participation they have, you know, these are your tax dollars at work. If it's state funds, local funds, federal funds, you know, and as the mayor was saying, you know, they try to prioritize and strategize, you know, where these funds and where our energy is going to. And, you know, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know, as they say. So I think it's important for residents, you know, if they have quality of life issues, whatever those issues might be, to, you know, participate in government, and, you know, we can be as responsive as, you know, it's deemed necessary. So, you know, as all the panelists have said, you know, this is important. Historically, Hartford has struggled with participation to some degree, but hopefully over the next couple of months, we can address some of these issues.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we'll go to the registrar's office. Democratic Registrar Gigi. Say if you respond to the comment.
Thanks, Jeff. Basically, get involved. It's your voice, your choice, your empowerment. We need to know what the issues are. Although I am just, well, I won't say just, Registrar of Voters. Anyone is welcome to come into our office and we can guide them to whichever department they need. Give us a call, outreach via email, however it may be. One-stop shop is what I like to call our office. Although all we do is register folks and do elections. I really consider that ROV being on the ground floor during the pandemic, being one of the offices that had to be here all year round. People were still coming in and out and still asking questions, which is what we need, participation. So I hope everybody continues and understands that without your voice, we don't know what changes need to be made, like the mayor said. So we'll go from there.
Thank you, Gigi.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll be able to hear from our Republican Registrar of Voters now, Vanessa. And if you start, you can get a chance to say hello since you were on it before, and then I'll just respond to the question at hand.
I think she might be having technical difficulties.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, we'll catch up with her at some point. Sorry. So sorry about the Vanessa, but when you get back in, we'll let you make up for the time. Before I start diving into the question, I'm going to check with my handlers to see were there any questions from the audience first that came in that I need to be addressed first.
Not yet, Jeff, but we hope those of you who are attending in our audience, please put any questions you have, and please keep checking the chat. We have already listed some links to some websites and I think some helpful information how you can stay connected with the government.
That's good. That means they're happy with the going on so far. They're listening. We're answering their questions, which is great. So it's good. Then first I'll go into dive into specific question. This way I'm going to rotate and I'll start with the Office of the Mayor. And the first question that we have for the mayor is, how would you describe the primary role of the Office of the Mayor, and what would you consider some of the most essential functions within the mayor's office?
Sure. I mean, that's a big question, Jeff, but I guess I would say, you know, the function of the mayor is most importantly to coordinate all of the operations of city government, from police and fire to public works and finance and public health and a whole lot else. And I think one of the most important ways of doing that is to build a team that's strong. And I personally regard that as one of my most important roles. And I'm proud of the team that we've built to make sure that we've got folks who are committed and caring and knowledgeable and willing to work hard at any time of the day to lead their departments and do it with a sense of commitment and hopefully also with a sense of humility. And a sense of passion. I mean, that really is, I think, a core part of the responsibility. And then, speaking personally, I think my role is to help make sure that we are, going back to what I was talking about before, prioritizing those things that we can and need to prioritize in a world where you got limited resources and lots of challenges. So it's helping to make those choices, direct resources where they can make the biggest impact, build a team that is as strong as we can build, and then work hand in hand with all the partners in city government as well as in state government. I think it's really important that all parts of city government are working together as best as possible, and that there's as strong a connection as possible between the city and the state and our federal partners. That can bear real fruit when you do it. Just this past week, as just one example of that, we were able to announce a really significant grant for the Promise Zone, and that's Northeast, Clay Arsenal, Upper Albany. It's one of the biggest federal grants available for providing direct services to kids in communities across the country. And a big part of the reason we were able to do that is because we worked hand in hand with our federal delegation. On the city council, we've worked hand in hand to enact some really important and in a lot of ways groundbreaking reforms on things like the Civilian Police Review Board and a whole lot else. We worked hand in hand to put in place a plan for the allocation of the American Rescue Plan dollars in partnership with the community after consultation, in partnership with a lot of others, but we were able to do that collaboratively and together. So I think that the responsibility of the mayor's office is to coordinate the core operations of city government and to collaborate with all of our partners so that we can have the biggest impact for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up, I'll have a question for Council President and Council President Rosado. And the question is, what is the role / purpose of the Court of Common Council in Hartford?
Yes. So major responsibilities of the city council are to enact ordinances for the government of the city and management of its business, to implement all the powers set forth herein referred to the city charter, or otherwise conferred upon the city for which regulation or legislation is required. To approve by majority votes of its membership all appointments made pursuant to section 2D and E of chapter 5 and other provisions of the city charter. To adopt the capital and operating budget of the city, and that's done through a fiscal year. To establish the fees, charges by city agencies, to understand public improvements and to assess benefits and damages, to approve labor agreements and employment contracts, to approve the purchase of sales, lease of other transfers of real property. So there is a lot involved, and we work hand in hand with our mayor in the best interest, of course, of the city. The process of the Civilian Police Review Board took a lot of input from the residents of the city of Hartford, and it's something that this council body is proud, alongside working with the mayor to push forward. One of my goals, and I was having this conversation with the mayor, we were having this conversation, is to actually put forth a resolution asking the support of our state delegation in order to put red light cameras in the city of Hartford. We know we have a lot of traffic issues, and I think that through this legislation of Hartford being a pilot for the red light camera would be in the best interest moving forward with public safety.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move to our town and city clerk's office. And interesting question for you, Eric, because I'm always curious myself, is that, Your office is titled the Office of Town and City Clerk. Would you explain the difference, functions / activities of each and why we have that great title of both?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. Of the 169 towns in the state of Connecticut, some clerks are appointed, some are elected. That being said, there are two titles. The town clerk strictly will do the marriage license, the birth certificates. The biggest function there is collection of conveyance tax when there's a property transfer. Hartford collects about $5 million from that. Some of that's passed through money. But other functionalities, anytime there's a lien, a mortgage, a deed, a survey. So it's basic office work in that sense. But, the city clerk's office really is the support system for the council president and her team, rest of the council members. So, we'll help them with the council agendas, certification resolutions, ordinances, and now the role is adapting where we're trying to get all this information. If it's, the videos, the agendas, the minutes, all online. We're working with Janice Castle in the mayor's office with NRZ compliance with Hartford Next. So all this stuff is more of a city clerk role where, we built out a portal, which went live a few weeks ago, where a lot of this stuff can be accessible, can be more of a one-stop shop. And it's important to note that the new portal was paid for, grant money, which is always great to see. So hopefully that can help the residents and the civic engagement issue that we face from day to day.
Thank you very much, Eric. Now we'll go to our Registrar of Voters, and we'll start with the Democratic Registrar of Voters, and then hopefully we can see if Vanessa can join us after that. But the question we have is, the Registrar of Voters office, and people say, so, what are the functions of the Registrar of Voters office?
So basically, we are the election administrators for the city of Hartford. We are in charge of making sure that all elections are fair and ensured that they are done impartially and all polling places are taken care of. We are also in charge of your voter registration cards, canvassing, and day-to-day operations that is all entitled in Chapter 9 of the Connecticut General State Statutes. The list is too long to even go on and repeat. But basically, that's what we are. We are here to guard your right to vote and make sure that when you do go to the polls, you're all set.
Thank you.
Vanessa?
Thank you. Vanessa, is she able to join us yet? I'll check my handlers. Is she able to talk to us yet, or is Vanessa being able to? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Vanessa? Can you respond? Okay, it looks like she's still not responding. Okay. All right, so we'll have to keep working that glitch out. I apologize. My
Jeffrey,
handler, Mary, do you have any comments?
Yeah, so we have a question for the Registrar of Voters, Ms. Feliciano. So if we know someone that needs to register to vote in Hartford, can you kind of take us step by step exactly how we can do that, and including what documents do we need to bring, what hours, can we do it online, things like that? How can we encourage our fellow citizens to participate?
There's actually several ways. You can do it online. You can either connect through our website that will connect you through the Secretary of State online registration. So you can do it that way. You can come into our office. Our office hours are from 8 to 4 right now to come in. We also have a registration forms outside our office for the hours that we're not here. To go ahead and register. There's a drop box you can leave. That is also one of the functions that the town clerk participates with or partners with the Registrar of Voters. So for whatever reason we're not here, town clerk can always take in the registration card. So there's several ways you can go to when you go to renew your license or your Connecticut State ID. You can also go ahead and register to vote there. The Secretary of State has made it quite easy and has worked very hard with the state to make sure how we can find an easier way. So we have community events, we have social service areas that will take in your registration card. Basically, what you need to do is make sure that you are a US citizen, you are 18 and over, or you'll be 18 before the day of election. Sign and fill out all the pertaining registration questions. Choose a party of your choice if you like. If you don't need to. But folks must understand that when you do that, you can't participate. If you don't choose a major party, which is the Democrat and the Republicans, you will not be able to participate in primaries, which are prime elections that people should participate. That moves over to November. That's a different subject. So basically, it's fairly simple and easy. If anyone has any questions or wants to hold a drive, we're more than willing to assist with that. We also do yearly high school registrations. Our office does go into high schools, except this past year was a little different. We had to mail out cards to head guidance counselors to do so, show them on how to go ahead and register. So it was a little bit difficult this year, but that's basically how we go ahead and register.
Thank you, Gigi. I
You're
just want
welcome.
to make sure, could Vanessa comment now, or is she still not able to communicate with us? Okay.
Well, I can
Go ahead.
see that. I apologize.
I'm sorry, Vanessa, but
I'm
Vanessa, your connection is unstable, so we're getting a lot of pinging in only like every fifth word.
Okay. I'll move on, but if Vanessa can get back in, then we'll let her
No,
catch up. I know
a lot
this-
of technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, it happens. Fortunately, it happens.
But,
This is the way of life.
Yes, like Gigi said, we
Okay. Vanessa, I guess we're gonna have to move on because it's a bad connection. Maybe we can work that out and
I have a suggestion
Okay.
that if she types things in the chat, then we can share that information.
okay, Vanessa, if you heard that, you can share it, in the chat if you have any comments and all. And then Mary, one of my handlers, Mary, will interrupt me, and then she'll read that, and we can do it that way. That way, we have to worry about technicality. So, sorry about that, but hey, talk to Mark Zuckerberg or somebody. I have no idea how that works. But the next thing I want to do, we have another general question we want to ask all the panelists. And that general question is, what have been your office's challenges in delivering services that residents and you expect from your office? And so I'll start, the mayor and go down again. And the question again is, what has been your office's challenges in delivering the services that residents and you expect from your office? And I'd like to start with Mayor Bronin.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, it depends how far back you want to go. When my administration first started almost 6 years ago now, the biggest challenge was, without question, the fact that we were facing a truly historic, massive fiscal crisis, a budget crisis. We really were on the brink of bankruptcy, and we're preparing seriously for all options to let us get on a track to move things forward. And despite the fact that we have had historic relief bills passed, which make it possible for us to make some really important investments that I hope will help our community and our kids and our small businesses recover from everything we just went through. That doesn't necessarily translate into budget resources for the operations of city government. So the reality is we're still working with limited resources, and we still have to be very, very careful and very, very responsible and disciplined in how we use our resources. It's just the fact of life, in our city, in a state where property taxes are the main way that city gets funded, and the city doesn't have enough property value. So, I mean, we have to acknowledge that it has always been an issue, continues to be an issue, but that's why we try to be really, really careful and disciplined, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are building a city that works, that's sustainable, and at some point, whenever it is, handing off that baton in a way that leaves the city healthier and stronger. So resources is an issue. The other point is that, I said how far back you want to go. Over the last 18 months, I think, as we all know, every aspect of life and every aspect of government and governance has kind of been turned upside down. And that means you had to focus on some things that you never had to focus on before. That meant that, our DPW team, which does extraordinary work, just keeping our city clean and, picking up trash and maintaining our roads and all kinds of other stuff. We had a lot of our DPW team doing things like delivering food to seniors who are homebound. We had our health department, which exists to do a whole bunch of different things, having to redirect from a lot of things they normally do on a daily basis to COVID management and helping to get testing available, hoping to get vaccines out there. So you got to be willing, as we said a couple of times before, when new challenges present, you got to adjust, you got to shift, you got to focus where you need to focus to meet that moment. But that means sometimes that other things don't get the attention that you want. So those are a couple of things. I'm happy to, if you want me to keep going, I'm happy to say more, but we got a lot of people on the call, so I'll let others talk a little bit more.
Thank you, Mayor. You do have there's a lot of stuff that happened in 6 years, but we appreciate the fact that we can let some other panelists talk on that issue. So I'd like to move next to Council President Rosado to respond to the question about what's been your office's biggest challenge in delivering those services to the residents. I think you're a moot now, Council President, you're a moot.
Yes, just to echo some of the things that the mayor said. Like he said, we are under our oversight. A lot of the challenges that we go through on city council is just trying to somehow build that relationship with the residents of our city, so that we can hear what their concerns are. This job as council or council president, I'm going to speak for myself, is a 24-hour job, right? There might be an emergency. I've had, been on the phone with the mayor at 2 o'clock in the morning talking about the budget at 11 o'clock, or if there's any issues that arise through the city. So, for me, public safety, to continue to move the city forward, is very challenging. We are elected by the residents of the city of Hartford. We're here because you put us in office. So sometimes I say that most of the times we need to meet halfway. I don't have a crystal ball in front of me that tells me everything or all the issues that are going around the city at all times. So, I can't, again, stress the fact that some people are under the impression that we know what's going on. Sometimes we don't, but if you get a group together, if you want the city council to have a meeting with your neighborhood, or whether it's the NRZ, we are willing and able to go out there and speak to you all. Always know that.
Thank you, Council President. Our Assistant Town Clerk, Eric, any response to the question about challenges?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I mean, like the mayor said, how far back do you want to go? But just looking at the last, 18 months or so, I think one of the biggest challenges that this office adapted to, with help from the mayor's office and the Registrar of Voters office, was, building out a new division to execute the historical amount of early voting and or absentee voting that the city residents participated in. About a third of those votes did come through this office for that election, about 12,000 votes. And historically, you would see somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2,000 individuals voting via absentee ballots. Now, with some legislative changes coming down the pike, we don't know what that looks like, but for lack of a better word, the cat is out of the bag. And, I think you're going to see a lot more voter participation in the city via early voting and absentee voting. So, that was one of the biggest challenges for our team over here. And like I said, it worked out well, and, we're happy with the progress.
Thank you, Eric. And the Democratic Registrar, I know what your challenge is going to be, that massive, crazy election. You had to deal with the folks coordinating that. So I'm sure, I'm not going to preempt you on your response, but I'm sure that's just going to be your response.
It is
Gigi?
my response, but like Eric said, our challenges as Registrar of Voters and town clerks is how can we get the state to move with new technology and make it a lot easier, upgrade. As we all know, Connecticut is not a state of easy changes. So early voting would have been one of those challenges we would have faced. Moving into the electronic new wave of doing things, e-polls, new tabulators. My laundry list can go on, and I'm sure Eric can attest to it. It's just, how can we process it easier? So there we go.
Thank you, Gigi. And I'm going to ask Mary, did Vanessa have anything? Did she type in anything before I move on? Just want to make sure.
I haven't, nope, I don't see anything
Okay,
from
all
her in chat. But we
Okay.
do, oh, and we have a visitor with the mayor. Welcome.
Mhm.
We do have a question for Council President Rosado, is if someone has a suggestion for a change in an ordinance or wants a new ordinance put through, can you kind of walk us through the steps on how that process works? Because I think sometimes it can be confusing as to what the moving parts are.
Sure. So whether it's a new ordinance or revision to an ordinance, they can always write the office of the council president. I know that Hartford Next has put the link on the chat, and it would be a process where we would seek the advice of our corporation counsel, look at what's out there, and it would go through a process. It would go in front of city council. It would go to whichever committee handles that aspects of the ordinance, whether it's development, whether it's public safety, and these are just a couple of examples. It would also go through a public hearing where it would have the participation of the public. And then it would go to a vote on council, whether it could be approved or not. But if anyone who wishes to have anything in writing or just wants to have a conversation, they can call or reach out to my office. My number is public. So we're here to listen and address your concerns. Something that this council body did this year was, with the assistance of the mayor's office, was that we did build a partnership with the Hartford Public Library, where now we do have interpreters on our public comment and public hearings. Not only in Spanish, but in any language. And all you need to do is write to our office and request that, and we will make it available to you. So therefore, everyone in the city of Hartford can have a voice and participate through public comment or public hearing, or if you even need translation services to get a message across to council.
Thank you, Council President. So before I go to the next round of questions, I'm going to go to my main handler, Marion Griffin, to say we're still okay going to the next round of questions. We're good?
We're good.
All right, thank you very much. I always got to check your handlers, remember that, otherwise you get fired. The next round of questions that we have, we'll start with the mayor again. And the question when they ask the mayor, this is good because everybody thinks you're Superman. You probably are, but here's a question. The question is, what are some of the common misconceptions of what the mayor can and cannot do?
News to me that anybody thinks that, but I can assure you nobody thinks that in this house. So look, I think first of all, one of the most common misconceptions about what the mayor can do is not so much about the mayor, but it's about, what is city government responsibility versus state or federal. And that's because it's complicated. It's not obvious. It's not easy. We got a lot of people, for example, calling because they've got, questions or issues with Social Security. And what we can do is help try to direct people to the right place, but it's fundamentally not something that we can fix. Then there are other issues that are even more complicated than that, because they are municipal in a sense, but they're not city government. So, as one example, Hartford Housing Authority, right? It is an independent entity. It reports to a board. I do appoint board members, but it is designed to function independently. Similarly, the Parking Authority is specifically designed under state statute to function independently. The school board, although I appoint and council confirms 5 of the 9 members of the Board of Education, designed and meant to function independently. So there are things that we can do through influence and by raising our voices and by working collaboratively, but there are also key parts of city government that are designed to be independent. I mean, you got it on the screen here, right? The registrar's office is independent of the mayor's office. The town clerk's office is independent of the mayor's office, and of course, council is. So there are lots of different functions, not all of which fall under direct authority. But when people reach out, what we try to do is just help them navigate that, help explain it. One of the best ways of doing that is through 311, where our team will take calls no matter what they have to do with, and we will try to connect people to the right place if it's not something that I can do, or my office can do, or the departments that report directly to my office can do. So that's one thing. I'm trying to think of a good way to sort of give examples of this next piece, but the other piece is just keeping in mind that there are lots of things also that may be in our responsibility, but there are rules that we got to follow. For example, if we're trying to do a construction project, a public works project, you usually, except in certain times, you usually can't just snap your fingers and do it. You've got to go through a procurement process. It's got to be a competitive one. It has to comply with certain types of requirements and laws. And so there are all kinds of examples like that where it's getting from where you are to where you want to be is not as straightforward as you might think. But we obviously do our best to move as quickly as we can, as efficiently can, and improve the process wherever we can. But I know that's the kind of stuff that's sometimes really hard for folks to understand and can get frustrated with, and I totally understand that. So those are a few thoughts. As with all of these, if there's any piece that you want me to dig in on more, I'm happy to do it, or anything that I didn't touch on, I'm happy to do it. But I'll yield to everybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that response. Didn't mean to embarrass you saying Superman. Maybe.
No.
So,
I think my wife could
next,
hear that, and I don't want to, be painful the rest of the day.
Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the council president, Council Rosado. And this question is deal other than council junkies like me or other folks that come to council meetings to see everything. In terms of just general, when your council meeting is going on, you have the whole dais up there and the people up there. And I was wondering if you can explain the typical council meeting in terms of who the players up there. I know that there's council people, but there's other folks up there. Maybe you can explain who those other folks are, what their roles are at the council meeting.
Sure. So our dais consists of 9 council members, 2 are working party. One is the Hartford party. Oh my God, it's so nice to see you,
Our first lady just waved to us. Thank you very much. Are you confirmed yet? Are you in DC yet? Are you confirmed?
You make us proud. So like I said, nine council members. The Democrats, 2 working party, and Councilman Gale, who is our Hartford party. Besides that, we have our corporation counsel, Howard, who's there to advise us of any legal issues and clarifications. We also have our town clerk, who keeps up with our votes on council. I know that Eric is there to assist him as his assistant. And we also have Hartford Public Access, who is that avenue to keep our communication out there with the public. So pretty much that's what a council meeting consists of. Now, when we have public hearings, our town clerk is there, corporation counsel is also there. And we also have our committee meetings, and we have chairs of every committee meeting. And usually we have representation from the administration on the various resolutions or ordinance that we have to speak on behalf. And I'm so grateful that that question wasn't asked, the one that you asked the mayor, because I don't think I would have had an answer for you all. He basically summed it all up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then also, I mean, you have council staff there, correct?
Yes, so we do have every councilman, every council person per charter has allocated an executive assistant, and that is mandated by the charter. And usually that is our Bible. It's public, of course, it's on our website. So if anyone ever had a question, they could also go to the charger for further clarification, or if they wanted to challenge something, right? That they didn't agree on.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Council President. Next.
You muted yourself, Jeff.
Thanks. That's good. See, my handler's taking care of me.
We're
So,
here for you, darling.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Need all the help I can get. Next, we're going to the town clerk's office. And then the whole theme is about participation. So I want to give Eric a chance, because there's a lot of great things going in the town clerk's office in terms of new technologies to make things better for the citizens to access and track. So I want to give you a chance, Eric, to give your pitch on some of the great stuff you're doing in terms of social media, Facebook, and other technologies.
Yeah, sure. So yesterday, literally, we rolled out a new voting software. It's an internal software that we use some of this grant money that we received. It's a relatively small election that is taking place in about 30 days from today. So the new software is really meant for us internally, where we can manage the ballot data better. The scalability of it will be easier. So if the legislator does pass some early voting acts, we'll be able to scale it out to build out this new division. And then recently, a few weeks back, in conjunction with other departments, City Council being one of them, we did roll out a new web-based platform. It's a CivicNet. Now this is going to be the new one-stop shop for if it's council meetings, minutes, agendas, upcoming events on council, videos, all the video links will be in there. So, we're trying to build out some new 21st century platforms to bring us up to that level. If it's to increase voter engagement at one level, to track and manage that data, for a scalability purpose down the road, or is it, helping council organize, whatever it is they have up there. Is it their meetings? Is it their, events? Working with boards, commissions, working with the NRZs in the near future, try to streamline that stuff so people know what's going on in those realms. So yeah, we look forward to finish rolling out some of these services to the city.
Thank you.
I have a
Mary,
follow-up for that. Is that platform online yet? Is that live?
Yep. So if we're talking about the Civic web platform that is online, I can drop the link into the chat.
The chat? That would be great. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you both. Next up are Registrar of Voters. And question we have here, Gigi, and then if Vanessa wants to type in something, it'd be great, and Mary will let me know. The question was, how are the poll workers recruited for the polls? What kind of work do they perform? And if any was interested in being a poll worker, how could that happen? Those are people working election for people. I'm using lingo, but for people listening in, people work election day, poll workers, and you go in and register to vote. To vote. Yeah.
Poll workers, we have. Let me just go by the titles we have in every poll site. We have a moderator, which is the lead at the poll station. We have 2 assistant registrars, which assist with any issues a voter may have, which makes contact into our office. We have official checkers, which are the people who are actually crossing off your name when you walk in. You have a ballot clerk who's in charge of counting and seeing if how many ballots are actually processed throughout the day and how many ballots we provide for them for each election. Then you have a tabulator tender. And that tabulated tender is the one that stands by the actual tabulator to make sure your ballot goes in the way it should and helps you correct any issues you may have. Poll worker, normally how it's been happening is we really have old timers who have been doing this for years. And they bring on other people into our office. And then when it's almost like a word of mouth. So folks start hearing that there's an election. They know that there's possibilities of getting a position within for that one day. So they call our office and we eventually end up training once we fill all the positions that are mandated by the state of Connecticut. Once we fill them, sorry, see, Mary's doing a great job saving energy, right? And giving me exercise. We train them. Everyone must be trained by the Registrar of Voters and our head moderators. So we do have head moderators that oversee the entire city. And then once that happens, they go into the polls and they start working. Now, if, for example, you need to, I go into a polling place and things aren't functioning right, I rearrange stuff real quick to make sure that we try to run it as smoothly as possible. The mayor was experienced this last November when we had to go to Grace Lutheran on Woodland. My moderator decided she needed to panic and had a line going out the door too far. So mayor called me and ended up going there with several staff members. We do have extra poll workers that we pull to the side and we decreased that line hopefully within an hour, and we moved on with the election and moved on to the next part. We also have a setup crew. So it's a huge team. It does take time to do it, but anyone is welcome. Last November election, the Secretary of State requested volunteers to contact the registrars, which we used a lot of those volunteers because of the size of the election. But that's basically it.
Thank you, Gigi. I'm going to check with Mary to see, did Vanessa have any comments or any of the comments coming from the audience?
Nope, sir, but there's still time. If you have a question for one of our panelists, please put it in the Q&A section.
Great. Thank you very much. And as I go to the next round of questions, and again, I'm going to defer to my other main handler, Marion. Are we ready for me to ask the next generic question before we go to the ones, or do you want to skip to
You're
the
doing
other?
great. Keep going.
Okay, great. And I want to apologize to our panelists if some of these questions seem kind of mundane, but again, we're trying to educate some of the more savvy people who say, why are we asking that question, Jeff? It says, not for me, but it's just for our audience, okay? The next question we have that we're going to ask everybody, and we'll go down the list again. It's a general question: is what is the best ways for residents to access your services in your office or your organization? And so I'd like to start with Mayor Bronin at that question, please.
Thanks, Jeff. So again, the best way to directly ask about a service, request a service, lodge a complaint, bring something to our attention is 311. And you can do that either by calling 311 or by using the 311 app. To call 311, if you've got a landline, you can just pick up your landline and dial 311. If you're using a cell phone, it's 860-757-9311. I know sometimes people get confused about that and call 311 from a cell phone. I do that sometimes myself, to be honest. But you got to do the full number, 860-757-9311, if you're doing it from a cell phone. The other way is to download the 311 app, and I really encourage everybody to do it. I have it on my phone. I use it as I drive around. If I see something that's if I see a big pothole, if I see bulky waste, and I don't know if it's been reported yet, I put it in the 311 app. The reason it makes a lot of sense to put it in the 311 app is a couple of things. One, You can take pictures of the issue. You can write your own description of the issue, and you can have a record of the issue. So that you can hold us accountable. And I want you to hold us accountable. And I also want to know that there's a record of it, because if somebody, puts in that complaint and then calls me 2 weeks later and says, hey, this hasn't been addressed, I love being able to go on 311, look it up, pick up the, take a screenshot of the complaint, send it over to my department head in the whatever department it is and say, hey, this came in 2 weeks ago, what's the deal? So I really encourage you to use that 311 app if you don't already. And then beyond that, we've got our constituent services, or our community engagement office, which is in room 211 in City Hall. You can always stop by and talk with folks, but I strongly encourage you to use 311 as the first avenue, the first point of contact. If you got to call somebody, call. But if it's just trying to make sure that we're aware of something, that app is a great way to do it, great way to record it, great way to make sure that it's on record, and that you can hold us accountable and let me hold myself and our team accountable too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as I go to the next ones that ask that question, if you can tell me, as we answer, is there a way that 311 connects to your individual unit or office in terms of doing that, or is there a separate way people do that? Just curious if people want to know how 311 works in terms of to connect to everybody in state services. So as other people respond to this question, could you tell me how 311 could tell us how 311 interacts with you? And we'll start with next to Council President Rosado. And you are mute still, Council President.
I apologize. I was so good at it at the beginning. So yes, we do get some referrals if they're council related, but know that there's always lately someone, an executive assistant there at the council office, and you can reach us by email. Go to the website under City Council, and that would automatically generate an email, and it could be sent to the main council staff, or it could be sent to an individual council member. So our doors are always open. All the ways to reach us are on the website.
Thank you very much, Council President. And then we'll ask our Assistant Town Clerk, Eric Lusa, if you could respond to that.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Hey, I would just say, come on in. We're here in the office. If anybody has any questions, if it's, when the next council meeting is, what's on the agenda, give us a call, come on in. We can walk you through the various process. If you're interested for boards, commissions, we could let you know what that process is. And outside of that, there's a website, hartfordct.gov, the new website I dropped in the chat. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to help and walk anybody through any issues they may have.
Thank you, Eric. Not that I'm creating more work for 311, but I'm just curious, do you get any 311 referrals?
Yeah, we'll get some 311 referrals for sure. Yeah, I'm sure DPW gets many. I'm sure there's other departments that get more than we do, but we still interact with 311 on a weekly basis.
Okay. Thank you. And to our Registrar of Voters, Gigi, how people can get in touch with your office, and this 311, do you get 311 also?
We do get some 311s, especially during election. People asking where to go vote if they're unsure of where to go vote. So we do get busy during that time. Janice Castleton's staff is great in relaying messages when need be via email and so forth. But pretty much like Eric says, our doors are open 8 to 4. Feel free to call our office during the working hours. Outreach via email, and the website has all the emails and contacts that you need.
Thank you, Gigi. Just Mary, did any comments from Vanessa?
Can I jump in with, while we're waiting, Jeff? Just
sure, go ahead.
On that, just to Gigi's last comment reminded me, the other important place that you can go for information or to interact with city government is the city website. HartfordCT.gov is a new website. We overhauled it over the last couple of years, and we really focused not so much on how to make it as fancy or as to look as sleek as possible. The goal was try to make it user friendly so that you could go on there and figure out how to get stuff done that you want to get done. So, if you look at that front page on the website now, you've got a link to 311 to submit a request. There's a thing that you can click to apply for a city job, to pay your taxes, to request a police report, to request a birth or marriage or death certificate. And that's not by accident. We looked at what are the most common questions that people have, and that's what we stuck right up there on the front page. So, I encourage you, if you do have a question, maybe your first stop should just be go to the website and see if you have access, go to the website, click on it, see if you can get your question answered there. Because it's not just about answering your question. We also built behind each of those things a way that you can get a lot done online. If you want to request a police report, you can just click on that link and it gives you the instructions on how to do it right there. Same with a birth certificate or a death certificate. Same with even paying your taxes, online. There's a lot that you can do online, and we tried to make it really simple, really user friendly, and hopefully, you find that that's true. If it's not true, and there are things that you think aren't working well on the website or something you'd like to see, we also welcome that feedback. And, I can't promise we'll change it, within minutes, but we'll take that feedback. And as we upgrade it, we'll try to incorporate that and do better. But we're really focused on trying to make sure that that website is user friendly for our residents to get the stuff done that they want to get done.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mary, did you have any comments from the public or?
Yeah, so we had a question for each of our panelists here is, what's the best way that residents can stay up to date with what's going on with your part of the government?
Okay, and I guess it's all for all the people. So I guess we'll go down the list. Mayor first, and then we'll go down. You're mute there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess I'd say three things. One, the website. We do try to put some good updates on there, even though a lot of it is about connecting you to services. We do try to put timely updates on there, so you can check that out. Two, my Facebook page, we try to put a lot of information on. We try to strike a balance. We don't put 1,000 posts a day on, or even like 5 posts a day on, but usually those some key things that we want to make sure people know about, we'll put it on the Facebook. And it's Mayor Bronin Facebook page. And then the third is sign up for our city newsletter. Janice Castle, our Director of Community Engagement, puts together, and her team puts together a great weekly update that covers a whole bunch of different things. And I'm embarrassed that I don't remember how you sign up for it, but I think you can do it right on the website. And maybe someone will be able to type in here before we're done how you do it, or I'll text Janice. But
We have that in the chat, Mayor, so
Okay.
I'll try and find it and repeat it again.
Great, thank you, Mary. But I really encourage people to do that, because that we really put a lot of information in each of those weekly updates, and you should get signed up for that because there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council President Rosado, if you have a response to that question.
Sure. So on the council side, you can always write or give us a call, like I've stated before. The council president's office does have a newsletter that goes out at the beginning of the month, every month. It's called Council Connect. And pretty much on there are council meetings, any important ordinance reference, things that are happening in the community or that we want to stress about. I know that a month ago, I believe it was a month ago, there was information on how to pay for your oil and heat. So it's very informative, and you can write to my office, which is mally.rosado@hartford.gov if you want to be on the mailing list.
Thank you, Council President. The Assistant Town Clerk, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I think just to reiterate some of the avenues already mentioned, hartfordct.gov, hartford.civicweb.net, which was dropped in the chat. And like we keep saying, give us a call, stop in, and we'll be happy to help and point you in the right direction if we don't have the right answers.
All right, thank you. Eric, but is there a new software in the town clerk's office that allow people to check on certain things, or is that?
What's up?
Is there a new software or a presence that allows people to come in and check on information in the council and
Sure.
fishing license, so on and so forth? Is that new too?
Strictly the council side of things, that's that hartford.civicweb.net that will allow the residents, other individuals to do a one-stop shop with everything. If it's council agendas, videos, boards and commissions, NRZ information. So we're currently building that out layer by layer, and we just rolled out the council stuff within the last few weeks.
Okay, thank you very much. I want you to get to brag about some of your successes there, that's all. So the same question I will ask our Registrar of Voters, Gigi, in terms of the question about being in contact or in touch.
Same way, currently we publicize a lot of our information on our website, the city website. We also publicize it in the newspaper, local news, small newspapers, Hartford News, and so forth. So we try to get out there as much as possible. Every year there's an election. It's just which election is being held that year. So we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, Gigi. And I'll turn to Mary. There were no comments for Vanessa, so I want to make sure any of the comments.
Nope, we're good on this end. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank
Oh,
you.
wait, no,
Go ahead.
actually, there was one other thing is there somewhere we can go for a staff directory for the whole of the city?
I'll let someone answer that. Can anybody answer that one in terms of that? Sure. Okay. I guess that's a suggestion for the website, I guess.
I can honestly say, if you go on any department within the website, it's a lot of the departments have directory on who's on there.
Okay.
And once again, I'm gonna repeat what the mayor says, call 311, they'll probably give you the direct extension.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, there's no, as far as I know, I don't know that there's one place where you can just get a list of every city employee. And I'm not sure how valuable that would be, but if you go on the website, department by department, you've got key leadership, key contacts, and a way to reach out.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It attests to what Gigi and the mayor said. I was trying to find someone's contact email, and I did call 311, and they did give it to me. So that's 311's a good tool, just to let people know. All right. Before I go on to the next, so I'm going to ask my main handler, Marion, what's the next? If we're going to the next rounds of questions, are we done, or what's the deal?
What I would say is, if anyone, I would ask anyone if they have any closing comments, because we are close to the time we allotted for this. And so it's always important for me to respect people's time. So that's where I would go. And then I'll close up.
Okay, as my main handler said, we can go to closing comments, and everybody, and thank everybody for your patience and my handling of this. I don't know if I'll be back in the return or they'll fire me. I'm not sure, but we'll let you know. So we'll start first with the mayor closing comment. So, Mr. Mayor, if you want to start with your closing comments, will be good. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I think I'll close where I started, which is use this opportunity to really encourage everybody to get involved in your NRZ if you're not already. One of the questions was, about how we do our jobs, how we prioritize, and the truth is, it's really hard. A lot of times people say, well, are you listening to the community? Are you communicating with the community? Right? It's really hard to sometimes know what that means, because there's no one person who speaks for the community. There's no 5 people who speak for the community. There's no 20 people who speak for the community. But there is one mechanism that was built to try to create, a way for folks to come together as a neighborhood and speak as much as possible with one voice. And that's the neighborhood revitalization zones. And so when we have a question or we want to get feedback or input about something that affects a particular neighborhood or something that affects the whole city, we go to those NRZs. We ask, we get feedback, we attend those meetings, our department heads attend those meetings. And I know I'll sometimes hear from people, oh, you can't just go to the NRZ, if you want to hear from the neighborhood, you got to, do something else. And I understand that, I respect that, but the NRZ is built for that reason. And I really strongly encourage everybody to be a part of it. And like anything in city government or democracy or anything else, you may find that there are people in that NRZ who you disagree with, and you may find that there's different opinions within the neighborhood. But it's better to try to work through those things at the neighborhood level through an NRZ than it is to have a dozen different voices coming up saying a dozen different things, because then it's awfully hard for Council President Rosado or her colleagues on Council President, or for me or my team, to really have a sense of what is the community's view, what is the neighborhood's view. And so I know I'm being a little bit of a broken record, but I think it's really important to stress that. And so I think I close with that. And also just with a big thanks to Hartford Next for everything this organization has done over the last 25, 30 years, but also for reimagining and rethinking the role that it plays right now. And we're really grateful for that, and grateful for this sort of umbrella organization that works hand in hand with the NRZs and can be an even more central sort of way to connect the city to the voices of our neighborhoods. So thanks for everything, and thanks for the chance to have this conversation this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate those comments. Next are her closing comments from our Council President, Molly Rosado.
Sure. So I want to start off by thanking Hartford Next. I really enjoyed this session. It's been very informative. And yes, to our residents, I look forward to more participation through public comment. Most certainly, as I stated, at the end of this month, we will adopt the hybrid system for council meetings, where you'll have the opportunity to participate from your living room, in person in council, so that you may address your concerns and your issues. And not only can you speak on what's going on the agenda, what's going to be presented on the agenda, but any concerns that you have, we're there to listen. You can write to us, you can call us, you could walk in to the council's office. Like I said, staff is there. But, just to stress out what the mayor said, sometimes through the NRZs, you can have a conversation, and perhaps your concerns in the city are the concerns of others, and numbers speak volume, right? I've always said, if on a street there's 100 homes and 2 request a speed bump, we will hear you, but it's not the same to say that 200 or 100 residents ask for that speed bump. So here to help and listen. And like I said, we're elected because you put us here, and we're here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. I see one of my handlers popped up on the screen. Mary, you had anything? Are we okay? All right, good.
I'm good, thanks.
All right, good. Thank you. Okay.
But you just muted yourself. There you go.
All right, so next, sorry, thanks. You're up for our next Assistant Town Clerk. Eric Luce will give closing comments.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, and thank you, Hartford Next, and the other panelists for today's engagement. I think this is a valuable tool, moving forward. And, as Council President had said, and as the Mayor said, join your NRZs, let your voices be heard. That is the mechanism, or the best mechanism to, let your local government officials hear you, and then, government can adapt or strategize around whatever those concerns may be. So, this office looks forward to working with you guys in the near future regarding some NRZ rollout of funds. And yeah, we're happy to be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And next we'll hear from our Democratic Registrar of Voters, Gigi Feliciano, for closing comments.
Well, I'm going to start off with what the mayor started off with. We're coming up with an election next month, November 2nd, the Board of Education. One of the lowest turnouts in our city. what I want people to understand, the Board of Education funds that the city provides, which are your tax dollars, my tax dollars, are a huge portion of our budget that the mayor and council has to provide every single year. It's to start where everybody complains about quality of life, education. Make your voice be heard. Don't let the turnout be so low. The last turnout was 7%. A couple of years ago, the last election for the Board of Education. I sent the stats out to Marion. Get involved. If you're not registered, come and register. The other thing is for the Sheldon Oaks NRZ, your Buckley High School, for those who are affected, Buckley High School, which is a polling area for many, many years, has now changed to Alfred Burr School because of the construction. The mailings went out, legal notice went out, but I want to make sure through this avenue that we also share. So anyone who votes at Buckley, know that they cannot vote at Buckley because of the construction. It's just moved down the street. So for those, please make sure you're saying Buckley is closed, my polling place is closed. No, it was just moved. If you did not get notification, that means that a change has been done in your voter registration that we're not aware of. Please make us aware of it so we can send you out the information that you need as soon as possible. We also have on our November election EDR for those who are not registered, can register and vote on the same day here at City Hall. So please come down. You also have the avenue with the town clerk's office that started yesterday, as Eric was saying, which is the absentee ballot. So if you are not in town, can't come for whatever reason, COVID is also one of the, remains one of the excuses on your absentee ballot. Please outreach to the town clerk's office with that. So there's all different avenues that everyone and anyone should not have an excuse to participate. Whether you have a child or don't in the school system, you have neighbors that have children, you have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, so on. These are our future, and decisions are being made, and your voice is the only thing that empowers it. So my suggestion to all the residents is please go out and vote. It's a right, a privilege that everyone should take and honor it. And that's it. And thank you to all for having me part of this panelists.
Thank you for that important messages about the election coming up. And then again, Vanessa, just want to acknowledge Vanessa Garay-Jackson had some difficulties. So we want to thank her for sticking with us. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out and we can hear her in the future. And with that, I will turn it over to my main handler, Marion Griffin. Thank you, panelists.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you, panelists, for this informative session that we've had. I wanted to just let you know that we have a survey that we're going to be sending out to everyone, that the video of this program will be available on our website, and we probably will have other places where it will be shared. And there will also be a summary of the program that will also be sent out next week. So what's coming next? Well, we have another webinar series on the 16th of October, and this one is focusing on our money. And I know that Gigi mentioned the fact that the school district is really a major part of the budget. So we are going to have the treasurer be present, the finance director present, and from that perspective, everyone should be concerned and interested in the tax assessors and the tax collector's office, those of us who have cars and own property and so forth, and as well as the operations, the Office of Management and Budget and Grants. So that there is a registration link, but that will be also sent out. So for today's session, I do want to thank, I'm sorry if I need to, I do want to thank our participants, our panelists, but most importantly, I want to thank Hartford Foundation because they have been supporting us in terms of our Neighborhood Training Institute. And without this, them, we would not have our Zoom account and other things. So we thank them. Thank you to our panelists, Mayor Bronin, Council President Mali Rosado, to Town Clerk's Office, Eric Lusa, and to Gigi and Vanessa from the Registrar's Office. Thank you all for supporting this important discussion. And thank you to our moderator, especially Jeff. And Jeff, you're not fired. You're still on. And Mary, thank you for keeping us on track. And I also want to thank the program committee that helped us pull this together, Jack, Janice, and Emily. And last but not least, I want to thank everyone who is engaged in working for the benefit of those who live, work, and recreate in Hartford. So with this, I close. Thank you again. Please come and join us for the next one. We look forward to all the things that we can do when we work together. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to end early. So take care and have a great Saturday. There are a lot of events going on today. So I know some of you are running to some of those. You've probably already come from something. So have a fabulous Saturday. The weather looks fabulous, and enjoy. Thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Is it just, are we?
And you have to stop recording.